Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're looking at something almost anyone who uses a Mac has thought about at least once, getting your computer to just type exactly what you say. Specifically, we're going to walk through a completely honest, impartial comparison between the built-in macOS Dictation and a newer, dedicated tool called Lispr.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's the elephant in the room, right? Why not just use the dictation built right into your Mac? I mean, every single Mac has it out of the box. You press a shortcut, start talking, and boom, macOS writes it down. There's zero to download, it doesn't cost a dime, and honestly, for a lot of folks, it's perfectly fine. Why fix what isn't broken, you know?
Which brings us to Section 1, the default dictation dilemma, when good enough actually slows you down.
Now, to be absolutely fair here, Apple's built-in on-device dictation is the ultimate privacy shield because it runs right there on your device. Your audio literally never leaves your computer. But when dictating goes from, say, a fun little novelty to a daily habit, the friction becomes very real. Imagine you're typing heavily all day for your job. A tiny system lag before every phrase? Well, it's completely invisible if you only do it once. But do it 100 times a day, it gets exhausting. Then you hit the roadblocks, right? Trying to get it to understand complex technical acronyms, or watching it turn Dear John into DEER John, or trying to switch languages mid-sentence. Plus, the built-in activation flow has its own weird timing you just have to master. It basically creates these constant tiny bottlenecks in your workflow.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. Section 2. Time saved through hotkeys. The one-gesture workflow.
So this is exactly where a tool like Lisp enters the picture. It's designed specifically around raw speed and this beautifully simple idea. Just eliminate that daily friction. It all boils down to one fluid motion. Step 1, you just hold down the right Option key. Step 2, speak your phrase. Step 3, release the key to insert the text. That is the entire interaction. There's no extra ceremony, no waiting around for some special UI pop-up to load. If your cursor is blinking, whether that's in Mail, Slack, Notes, or your code editor, it types exactly when you let go. It saves you countless microseconds of waiting throughout your whole day.
But actually, it goes one step further, into real power user territory. Let's say you're speaking in your native language, like English, and suddenly you realize you need to send a message to a colleague in Spanish. You just tap a second key, the Control key, mid-speech. Without even stopping, it instantly translates your native speech into one of 32 target languages, dropping it right there at your cursor. Pretty slick, right?
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, local versus cloud processing, trading privacy for performance.
It all essentially comes down to a really honest trade-off. On the built-in macOS dictation side, you've got entirely on-device processing. That means maximum privacy, literally zero audio ever leaves your Mac. But over on the Lispr side, you're using cloud-based processing. Lispr sends your audio over an encrypted connection purely to transcribe it and then instantly discards it. By default, nothing is kept and absolutely nothing is used to train a model. But your audio does temporarily leave your device. That's the strict price you pay for getting significantly faster and cleaner results.
So what exactly do you get for making that privacy trade-off? 1/3 of a second. That is a massive performance benefit. Because Lispr is leveraging a dedicated cloud engine, it takes roughly 0.35 seconds to transcribe your phrase from the exact moment you let go of the key. The text appears almost instantly. There's no thinking spinner, no sitting around waiting for your system to catch up to your voice.
Now, what's really interesting about this tech and footprint comparison is how these stack up. Both tools are totally free, though Lispr is currently in early access. But look at the speech model and the footprint. Lisp tabs into a massive, highly accurate cloud model called Whisper Large v3 Turbo to understand about 99 languages, yet the app itself stays completely out of your way. It has a tiny 17-megabyte footprint that just lives quietly in your menu bar. And crucially, unlike a lot of other cloud tools out there, it requires absolutely no account sign-up to start working. You literally just download it and go.
Which leads us nicely into Section 4, which tool fits you? The final decision framework.
All right, so we've seen the workflow and we've dug into the underlying technology. Now it's really important to evaluate what your specific day-to-day workflow truly demands. Let's first outline when you should definitely just stick with the built-in macOS dictation. Look, if you only dictate a sentence here and there occasionally, you simply don't need another app. Save yourself the trouble. Also, if you work in a field where you require strictly zero audio ever leaving your Mac for security reasons, you absolutely have to stick to Apple.
And of course, if you're frequently offline, like on planes or in remote areas, the built-in dictation is really your only choice, since it doesn't need the internet at all. It's free, it's completely private, and hey, it's already right there on your machine.
So the crucial point is figuring out when a dedicated tool actually becomes necessary. You should absolutely choose Lispr if you type heavily for a living. If you want one lightning-fast, totally consistent hotkey gesture across every single app without fail. And ultimately, if you just prefer the noticeably faster, cleaner results of cloud processing over keeping everything strictly on your device.
Honestly, it really comes down to this fantastic quote from our source material. Lispr is built for people who type for a living and want the keyboard to stop being the slow part. That is the absolute core philosophy you should take away from this explainer today. It's all about systematically removing that annoying friction between your thoughts and your screen.
Which leaves us with one final, provocative question to ask yourself today. Is your keyboard the bottleneck in your daily workflow? Because if it is, you now know there are entirely different ways to break that bottleneck, depending completely on where you stand in the privacy versus performance debate. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.